It's been another month, so welcome back to a Game Club recap episode. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me as always is Moonpir.
Hello. Call it on radio.
What? Oh, who's?
That was me.
Oh, that was you. All right. And joining us is MusiM.
Hello.
All right. I don't think we have any business here at the beginning, so let's just throw the standard boilerplate we have here that we will talk about spoilers. Not a super spoiler heavy game, so probably not too worried about it, but you know they're going to happen anyway. Let's break down the release of the game. Released October 24th, 2017, so probably one of the most recent Game Club games we've played. Published and developed by WayForward Technologies. Released on PC, PS4, Xbox One, and the Switch. The only characters write down for this game was Not Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Everyone else is some sort of Egyptian god that I didn't bother to write down. Time travel, Metacritic 75, OpenCritic 76. Peers for the release date, I only have 4 of them, but they're all kind of, 3 of them are big ones. Destiny 2 for the PC.
Yep.
Super Mario Odyssey, which sort of pushed everything else out of the way. Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus. And most importantly, buy it if you don't already have it, This Is the Police came out on the Switch.
Yep.
And a question we ask every month, top of the pile, middle of the pack, or overlooked? My vote is for middle of the pack, probably for all the reasons we're going to talk about here in a minute.
Yeah, I would say middle of the pack mostly because nobody was talking about it right around release day. Like, nobody was talking about it. Then everybody kind of went back a little bit. And we're like, oh, this came out. Let's see what it's like. And then all of a sudden you had that groundswell of, oh, this is really kind of good. Like, I'm only like 3 hours in and it's really kind of cool. And then nobody continued talking about it after that point.
Yeah.
I feel like all 3 options have like a positive tinge to the game, so I disagree with all of them.
So you're going to say like bottom of the barrel maybe?
I'd say get a refund.
Yeah. All right, well, let's dive right into what we liked and what we didn't like. I'll start off here. I think since it's a WayForward game, it's easy to say this game looks incredible. They are some of the best pixel artists that are out there. You know, them and Tribute Games both do incredible stuff, and I feel like WayForward did really great pixel stuff and especially really great animations throughout this game. Everything has way more frames than you'd sort of expect it to, and it looks real good.
Yeah, add on top of that as well, like, I mean, it looks beautiful, but the sound design in this game is incredible. Mm-hmm. The one sound design thing I didn't like was the standard gun, because it's just so repetitive.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the here's the thing that drives me crazy about modern games. If you have low health, I'm okay if you're going to beep at me for a little bit. That's fine.
There's this as well.
Just fade. Just fade after a couple seconds. Like, I don't need to go through half of a level with this beep, beep, beeping in my ear. I know I don't have any health. I'm like one hit away from death.
Well, and it starts doing it like when you're to your like last 199 points of health too, and it's like, do you really need to do it that early? Like, could you start like maybe at 50 or 40 or something?
Well, that's a good segue into one of the worst parts about this game is it's sort of mean, and every single enemy hits way too hard throughout even the beginning rats. It's like, all right, I have half of my health is gone. Great, because I touched a rat.
Yep. Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that I was probably the most surprised about in this game is that I certainly don't hate difficult games, but I feel like the Mummy Demastered's one of its biggest sins is that it's just way too sort of mean difficult.
Yeah.
If you want to see a man losing his mind, you should go check out the Game Club channel and my post there.
Which
Descent into Madness.
I want to discuss that screenshot at some point, but go ahead. Once you're finished, we'll talk about that screenshot.
We'll talk about my screenshot at some point. Or either of them, really. You're probably talking about the earlier one. I've like this game showed me a couple things about myself. One, things can still make me completely enraged and unreasonable. And this game brought me there. Two, I've kind of lived in a game bubble where I've really carefully curated what I play and what I don't play, and I follow a lot of game journalists and kind of figure out, my compare and contrast my tastes with theirs. So I almost always have a really good idea on whether I'm going to like something or not. This one I thought I was going to like, but I think a lot of what happened was they started playing, they heard the really awesome freaking soundtrack.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not quite up to Bionic Commando Rearmed, but I think you could throw it, like, if it was a top 10 list with Bionic Commando Rearmed at top, this one might be in 10 or 11, it's a real good soundtrack.
Yeah.
But I just spaced.
Well, I feel like that's the gift and the curse of Game Club, is a lot of times, the randomness picks a game, and we say, like, I don't know anything about this game, and we come back a month later, and it's like, this is one of the best games I've ever played. Or it's the Mummy Demastered, and you're like, this game looks really great, and you get about 2 hours in, and you're like, this second boss can go to hell, and I'm going to burn my PlayStation 4, because this is garbage.
Yeah. Oh, that second boss was... it was frustrating, because in a way, he wasn't even hard. You just had to, like, stand in very specific spots and jump at very specific times, and if you were up on the ledge and you went down too soon, then he would, adjust his fire trajectory towards you.
Yeah.
I was about to say which one is the second boss, but now I know. Now I know.
Yeah, that infernal dragon.
For the record as well, having that guy, like, if that guy kills you, like really quick rewind here. Positives about this game, really cool, like the life-death cycle. We talked about it on TVGP proper. But the fact that when you die, you respawn as a new agent, and you have to go and kill your former agent to get your gear back. It's a really nice touch in concept.
Yes.
In execution, it's so bad. Like, I started loving this game, like, at this beginning of this game, I was like, yeah, this game is fantastic, but like MusiM said, there was a moment where I was like, F this S, turned off the console and walked away because I was so mad.
Yeah, it was enraging. Like, part of me thinks, like, the first time I saw that mechanic, I thought, oh, that's cool. And then I played more of the game, and I'm like, this is not cool. This is terrible. But I think, like, I feel like this game was made by, like, 5 people, and one of them was like, let's make a Metroidvania, and the other was like, let's make a roguelike.
Right.
And the Metroidvania guy ultimately won, and then they didn't play test it. Like,
you got your chocolate and my peanut butter.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, because I think if you made this game where enemies would drop weapons, so therefore you could re-equip yourself and get back to your corpse, and we're going on these runs through a roguelike dungeon, like, I think it'd be a lot better game.
Yeah, and what's so weird about that system, too, is, like, once I beat the second boss, I never really interacted with the death mechanic anymore, because I felt like, at that point, nothing else in the game was nearly as hard. I think I died on the third boss, the one with all the staffs. Well, I died on the fourth boss, too, because I could not figure out how to... One of those, like, left brain, right brain things where it's like the cogs are turning in the clock tower as you're fighting the giant scarab, and I was like, I need to jump. And I'm like jumping with the momentum, and I just like it was bad.
Do you remember your death count at the end of the game?
Oh no, I took a picture of it. While we're talking, I'll see if I can find it.
I think mine was like 22 roughly.
Yeah. So mine was 63.
I think mine was 30-something.
I died a lot after the second boss. I spent an hour trying to beat the second boss over multiple days. Or maybe it was 2 hours. And then it took me another, like, 4 hours to beat the game. Like, the third boss, the guy with the staffs that would teleport around, I died on him a couple times. I was fairly sure I was going to beat him normally, but then he glitched and just stayed in the middle of the screen and let me shoot him.
Oh, weird. Kind of handy.
Yeah, that was real weird. But the fourth boss, I don't remember.
That was the Scarab one in the clock tower.
Yeah.
Oh, the one that kept going up. Yeah, he wasn't too bad.
Yeah, that one was kind of... It was a pretty cool idea.
A big thing for me, like, that constantly caused me to die was the fact that I always forget you can hang on the ceiling. Like, that second boss, I was always forgetting, oh, I can hang on the ceiling and I don't have to stand ridiculously close to him to actually shoot him. I can just go up the ledge and hang on the ceiling to get him.
Right.
So, another problem that I really shouldn't... Like, that probably contributed to my negative experience with the game is something is wrong with my Joy-Cons on my Switch. They are, like, a millisecond behind whenever I press.
Oh, huh.
It has consistently been across every single game I own for the Switch. I don't think about it a lot because I'm usually playing like an RPG, like Xenoblade or something like that, where they have timing stuff in there that gets frustrating. But
yeah,
for the most part, I can just mash it when I want. And that didn't help. And this is very much a quick twitch game. But
yeah,
I just when you make a vertical level and you're jumping up onto platforms that are disintegrating under you, and there are these grasshopper things going back and forth.
Yeah.
You have Medusa heads equivalents going, and you don't know where things are going to appear, and then you're hit and fall to the bottom.
Yeah.
Like one time I was doing that, and I actually died on one of the top platforms. So then I went back, and there's my corpse at the top, and I started shooting him, and then my corpse is like, I'm going to jump all the way down. So then I had to, chase him, all the way back down. It was, I had multiple moments in that game where the corpse I needed to kill was next to another one of my corpses.
Yep.
And that knockback thing got me a couple times, because eventually... So I got, 75 or 80% of the items. I didn't feel like hunting down the rest of the relics, otherwise I would have tried for 100%. And I got something like 98% of the map, because I'm not going to finish that final boss fight to get 100% again. I eventually sort of got used to the knockback and sort of started using it to my advantage until you get the upgrade that eliminates the knockback, and then I'm like, all of a sudden I'm sort of like falling through enemies and falling off cliffs and stuff because I'm not used to not having that. And that was...
I did not find that upgrade.
Neither did I.
It was pretty well hidden. I think it was basically the second boss. I think instead of going the way the boss has you go back and you go the other way.
Yes, and if I'm right, there's a C4 wall there.
Yeah. Oh,
because
yeah.
At the time, I didn't have C4, so I went all the way that way. I was like, oh, I'll come back here when I get whatever opens this, and then forgot all about it.
Yeah, let's talk about C4 here for a minute, because I think if there's anything that's the most BS in this game overall, I think it's a simple design oversight. So, for anybody that didn't play, there's basically two types of walls you can break. There's like a wooden pieces put together, and then a steel door. And the first two grenade upgrades, you get a grenade and you get a Molotov cocktail. Both of those open the wooden door. Only C4 opens the steel doors, but it can open the other doors as well. What I don't understand is why they don't just force the upgrades on you throughout the entire way, instead of letting you pick grenades and Molotov cocktails, because after you get the C4, they don't really do anything anymore. All they do is cause me to search Google for 30 minutes to say, the Mummy Demastered, how do I open steel doors?
I mean, a biggest thing for me is, I'm actually rewind the conversation again here. I'm going to take it back to MusiM's screenshot, because the screenshot I love that he posted in the Discord is, in my opinion, the worst designed room in video game history. Because, and let's just say, we're talking about functional games here. I'm not talking about broken games. I'm not talking about all the crap that you see released on Steam these days. I'm talking about, in games that are, generally speaking, sated and done really well. The big room here is my least favorite room to ever be in, and it's the sand area above. It's surface level, broken down cars. You've got the stupid bats that never stop spawning and always fire at you as they go past. And then you've got the sarcophagi that come out of the ground and then shoot really fast across the screen at you and do probably about 50 damage.
Yeah.
That room killed me so many times, and then when you have 100 health and you're going back to kill your corpse, you will get hit in the back twice by one of those stupid mummy sarcophagi, and then you'll die again. And then you repeat the whole process all over and over again while you're trying to get your gear. And MusiM screenshot, like, perfectly summed that up, because it was literally just a whole bunch of skulls.
I'm looking at it, there's like 4 or 5 dead, zombified agents there, and it's just like,
Yep.
Yeah, I was literally just like, after I figured out I really don't need to kill all my corpses, I can just kill the one, get my stuff back.
Yeah.
Like, that room was a nightmare. Like, what especially made that room a nightmare was to make the jumps to get to the screen to the right.
You had to have speed.
Yeah, you had to have a little speed going. And having speed going when you have random spawning enemies through the air with no actual ability to dodge them, like if they had made some sort of upgrade to where you could like jump off an enemy, like I think that could have helped.
I think
it may have made it worse, but at least you wouldn't have been hurt.
True. The one thing that changes that is an upgrade that I think Boston got, and I definitely collected it, which is hidden in one of the rooms that is a total optional gear thing. I don't know why it's optional. This should be a must-have. Is like the phase shift. So like when you press the B button and do the roll, it replaces that with you basically travel in a straight line. So on that room, you can... every time I went back to that room, I just run all the way to the right, do the biggest jump I can, and then just hit up and B, and you basically just go in a straight line straight up, and then you can just move off and go into the next area.
You like do an air dash.
You see, I had the dash. I didn't use it much. I actually had to unequip it for the last boss, because that's the only way I could figure out how to beat him.
Oh, yeah. And I think the weird thing about that, too, is, like, there's an additional mechanic there where you pick up that upgrade early on that does virtually nothing, which is your agent runs faster upgrade.
Yep.
But combined with that is if you can get enough speed, your agent turns red, and you hit that dash button, and basically you start flying across the screen. Like, you can actually pass through rooms.
What? Wait, what?
Very, very quickly, and you can break through walls that don't seem like you can break through them. And it's like, well, I just did that by accident once, and like a trophy popped up, and I broke through a secret wall, and I got a health upgrade, and I was like, oh, well, that would have been nice to know.
I broke through a wall because you can just break through the little walls. You can just break through them with the normal, like the line dash. I figured that one out. I didn't know you could gain up that much speed and then do a special move. Like, come on.
Yeah, and that, like, I feel badly for Mummy Demastered because I feel like WayForward has made some really great games, and I think Mummy Demastered could have been a really great game. It's just saddled by like half of the design decisions are really great, and half of them are just some of the worst, unfriendly design decisions I've played in a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, every single time I looked up a Let's Play for the game, I inevitably had more health squares than whoever was playing
me too.
The game.
Yep. I mean, it's got, give it credit where it's due. It's got the good stuff. It's got the hidden rooms. It's got the secret areas. It's got those funky relics that, it's got that Metroidvania tease of, I can go there later. But by the time you get the things that make you able to go there, I don't want to go back to those points at any point, because at that point I was just like, I'm done with this game. Let me get to the last boss. Let me beat the last boss and be done. Because,
one of my big design decisions, too, is I feel like they made a really big mistake with the map. If you compare this directly to Symphony of the Night, when you go through a room and there's rooms on other side of, let's say it's like a giant tower, there's there's like a little opening in the border of the... Mummy Demastered doesn't do that, where it's like you went through this room and it's just this one big rectangle.
Yep.
But there might be 3 or 4 doors coming off of there, and you have no indication that any of that existed if you look at the map.
And there's no zoom on the map either, which...
No.
Like, when I was playing on Switch when I was playing it on the big TV, that was fine, but when I was playing it in handheld, it was like...
Oh, wow.
Where am I?
You had nose right to the screen.
Yeah.
Pretty much. It was like Susie would not sit in the room with me when I was playing this game because I was so angry.
Honestly, like you describing the controller issues as well with the Switch, that like I bow down to your patience because I am one of the most patient people I know, and I probably wouldn't have finished it if I was having like input lag delays on while I was playing this game.
My Switch is lucky. Like I haven't wanted to throw my controller in like 20 years until this game. My Switch is lucky it made it out alive. It was tough for me.
We're not violent men, but this is what. We're not violent men, but this is what it drove us to.
Yeah, I immediately deleted the game after I got the ending. I did.
Well, yeah, I did too. When I saw the credits screen, it was like 4 hours and 15 minutes, like saves and deaths, and then it was like your map is 98%. It's like I give up. I think we were just comparing this to Symphony of Night, and we haven't yet talked about the final boss fight, which is literally the final boss from Symphony of Night. Like,
yep,
100%. Like you are fighting the same dude alongside another person, and it has giant hands, and the hands are swiping at you.
And they do the same fireball spells. They do, like, it even... we were talking about this pre-show the other day. It even does the Symphony of the Night thing where it's like, it's a human-sized enemy before the big, massive-sized enemy as well. It's like, literally my note is like, Dracula last boss, lol.
I guess I haven't beaten Symphony of the Night in years. I don't even remember the boss, but I do remember you're, like, way more powered up in Symphony of the Night, though.
Yes. Yeah. And then... I feel like the escape sequence at the end was really weird. I feel like it was supposed to be really difficult, but eventually I figured out, I can just bypass every screen by like jumping up and doing the angled dash, and then I'm past the screen.
I did the exact same thing. Like at that point I had the weird straight line dash thing, and I was just like, well, okay, I'm just gonna literally go into this screen. Oh, you want me to go all the way to the right, then up, then across? No, I'm just gonna go straight up, in. Problem solved.
So I beat the last boss by unequipping that and using the roll a lot. Mm-hmm. I died. So I got
in the escape,
your agent died. So.
Wow. That's kind of cool. For the record, I will more than likely not be going for the achievement in this game because I have a problem. I am going to dust my hands of it and say, I ain't going for the Never Die achievement.
No. What the hell? No way. I feel like if you were to put me in front of Symphony of the Night and give me a trophy like that, I could probably do that because I know the map like the back of my hand. I feel like you could probably do it with this game pretty easily if you had like, all right, I'm going here, I'm collecting all the optional health packs I can or as early as possible, and like you had a pretty good idea of, but the game, like MusiM was saying, the game often punishes you for trying to play cautiously, where it's like, all right, I'm going to go up this giant chasm, and I'm going to do it slowly, but everything's breaking, no! And it's like, well... It's often at odds with itself because it wants you to play cautiously and it wants you to clear a screen and then keep moving up while doing that. But then there's like poison coming or infinitely spawning bats or everything's falling apart, and it never really gels.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys sort of liked or didn't like here before we wrap this thing up?
I did get some frame rate drops on the Switch.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys got any, but in particular in the forest areas where the wolves appear, like I'd usually get frame rate drops. And I got
a little bit, yeah.
It was weird too because while the game slowed down, the amount of like the damage per second I was doing didn't. So
weird.
Still killed, like it was almost beneficial to me in that way. But
it's like an old Game Genie cheat code.
Yeah. But I didn't know if if you guys got it too, so maybe it's not a platform thing. But
I don't think I did, but I'm using the Beast, so something tells me the X can handle it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes it's not even up to the hardware.
Sometimes it's just the programming. But I don't know. I don't remember having an issue with it. But at that time, by the time I was dealing with the wolves, I was just like, no, I am literally going to do it. This game literally got me to the point where I was like, normally I'm a go through the room and kill everything in it, and then explore. And by the end of this game, I was just like, oh, hey, enemies, dash past, dash past, dash past, dash past. Next
yeah,
one.
because so many of the enemies did so much damage. At some point, I forgot to bring this up. At some point, it's so counterintuitive because you're often encouraged to avoid as many enemies as possible and, like, dash through the room as fast as you can before they either spawn or start spitting out little minions, which is sort of, you know, it's sort of a opposite to what you want to do in a Metroidvania.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, Symphony
like Moon
of the Night
says,
showed that
you want to
really,
clean
really
out
well.
and explore.
Yeah, Symphony did that perfectly, where when you got to the point where you're just swinging those swords around, you're just like, hey guys, I'm just going to scroll through
one-shot
all of
everything.
you. It's so great.
The other thing I want to mention before we leave is health recovery after a death.
Oh,
is
God.
super annoying because there's no way to completely refill your health other than finding a new health container.
Right.
And when you die on a boss, then you'll usually have like 1 or 2 squares of health, and then you'll just have to kind of go back and forth between a room,
Gotta
doing
farm.
whatever's easiest to destroy to farm health in the forms of either 5-point health level ups or 20-point health level ups, and the 20
Right.
points are rare. So, like, I guarantee you, like, at least an hour of my playtime went to me farming health before a boss. Before
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
it was.
Just such a strangely designed game. They almost got it right, and they just it's at a couple of points where you can make one decision or another. They just kind of made one too many sort of mean decisions.
Yeah.
I'm really shocked it reviewed as well, Lily, as it did. Like, with as many people being positive. Like, it really makes me wonder, like, how many of the reviewers actually finished the game.
Yeah, because everything up until that second boss was really good, and then the second boss came, and it's like, oh, now I start seeing all this game's warts.
Yeah.
It sort of doesn't get better from there.
Credit to Jimbo in the chat. He beat the game with 1 death. I don't know how you did that, you MLG pro.
Way better than all 3 of us.
Also, speaking of Jimbo, thank you very much. I believe it was Jimbo who sent me this game as a gift on the Xbox One X. Or Xbox
nice.
One, I should say. So thank you for that. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I probably will go back and get all of the other achievements, like all the tidy up ones. I ain't
Just
doing
not
the
that
one
one.
the death one. No.
Not worth it.
No.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to our next game then, put the Mummy Demastered in the rearview mirror. Our next game is, as has been chosen by the random selection, West of Loathing. Came out on PC, OS X, and Linux. I know MusiM was already a fan of this and had talked about it on Pup a little bit. How long to beat has it estimated about 7 hours. And it is not exactly the most graphically intensive game, so if you have a computer, you can probably play it on it. So West of Loathing will be our next month's game. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me, as always.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about West of Loathing next time.
Yeah. And we will talk about the West of Loathing in another month. Until then, see ya.
See ya.